Welcome, everyone. So happy that you came to join us to learn more about community-based resources and really happy to be with my partner from GBH, Mary Hagerty, to talk about supporting computational thinking across home and library settings. But we've got a treat for you because there are lots of resources available through media and public television, and we'll share more about those as we go through today. So happy to have people here from all across the country and multiple time zones. We've got Iowa and Minnesota and Connecticut, DC, Massachusetts, South Carolina, Georgia, Michigan, New Jersey, Arizona, Arkansas, New York, Kansas, Idaho. I know I shouldn't have started naming states because I can't name all the people that are here, but if I missed yours, let's try using the chat and tell me what state you're from. And we also really encourage you as you go through this webinar to use the Q&A and talk to us, ask us questions. We'll either stop and answer you right away or get back to you before we get to the end. But to the extent possible, we really want this to be interactive. And I see you, Colorado and Massachusetts and Indiana and North Carolina popping up in the chat. So appreciate you sharing that with us. Again, this is a partnership between public television and media and the BUILD Initiative. And so I'm going to start by talking a little bit about the BUILD Initiative. It really works with state leaders and partners with states across all the supports that are necessary for child and family and community well-being. And on this call, on this webinar, we've got people representing health and mental health and child welfare and home visiting and research and program directors. And so really appreciate that you all appreciate that the well-being of young children really requires cross-sector connections. And if we really want to lean in and make sure that children and families have the tailored support they need for well-being so that they can meet their own goals and aspirations, it really does take all of us. And so we thank each of you for being here. And we do see a role and a function, whether you're a social worker or education consultant or implementation support or life coach, we see a role for you in this kind of implementation. I'm going to turn it to Mary to introduce herself and public television.
Hi, thank you, Sherri. Well, as Sherri mentioned, my name is Mary Hagerty. I'm the Director of Media Engagement at GBH. We're the public broadcaster located in Boston. And in addition to being a local public broadcaster, GBH is also one of the leading producers of content for the PBS system. You may recognize some of our brands across the bottom of the slide. We produce American Experience, Frontline, Nova. I don't think I put Masterpiece on there, but we also produce Masterpiece. And then for the little ones, Arthur, Molly of Denali, so many more. And the initiative we're going to be talking about today, which is called Work It Out Wombats.
Thank you so much, Mary. My children still really remember Arthur and what an impact it had on their young learning. So this partnership with public television is just one of many that Bill seeks to have with community partners. We recognize the importance of early learning and having spaces for children to grow and learn, but we also recognize the importance of strong communities that have resources and using those institutions such as museums and libraries to really form coalitions within their regions to reach out to children and families who may not first see libraries and museums as a resource. One of the special things about the partnership between Mary and I is it started when I was a commissioner, recognizing that while I had a huge responsibility for early care and education, I also recognized that where people lived and children and families needed other supports. And so we began that partnership years ago. And I encourage you and will encourage you throughout this session to find your local resource, whether it's the state librarian because you're at the state or a local librarian because you're in a community or a museum because it's regional, and just because it's not a children's museum, and especially if it is, it's a great place to have a partnership. One of the best examples from my work in Massachusetts was a museum that actually wasn't a children's museum, but had a heart for children and created lots of programming and planning around young families. And so we think it's important that there's statewide partnerships and networks across museums and libraries and community organizations. They support the workforce. They often do training and have opportunities for the workforce to grow, as well as opportunities for families. And two statements I always heard was museums are a fail-free zone. So it's a place for children and parents alike and caregivers to try things on and test it. And you're going to learn about more of that in computational thinking. It's a critical skill. And we also want to get the word out that the library is maybe not your mother's library. In the day we thought the library, you couldn't talk and you couldn't have food and children had to be quiet and you didn't want to ruin something. And there is big movement now to make libraries warm and welcoming. Many libraries forgive fees for young children. Things happen to books when you loan them to young children. So really encourage you to lean into those partnerships, but build in partnership with the Institution for Museum and Library Sciences, and Boston Children's Museum has actually worked across the country with regional groups of libraries and museums, helping them think and work better together. In fact, we produced a resource, which is still available on the Bill website. We can send it to you after the meeting, and Jonathan may be able to put the link in. And it talks about developing relationships. I know the first thing I heard was a museum's not a library, library's not a museum. We've got different funding, we've got different infrastructures. We recognize that, but there is a shared space, the children, the families, the communities you serve. And so we wrote this manual to help you think about finding that shared space, finding those opportunities, not creating new opportunities, but how to take the opportunities you already have and extend those opportunities so that they benefit both the library and the museum. And some of the work that we did with the Boston Children's Museum, we worked with the city where they actually took make and take kits out to a community, and they took books out to the community. It introduced the community to libraries and museums. And by the end of our time together, there was a bus that was donated riding by a church that was taking people to both the library or the museum. These are things that take time, but they're certainly worth the effort. They're not another committee. I'm sure you're on many committees thinking about young children. The question is, have you brought up this idea, including the one Mary's going to share with you today? And so there are other tools and resources in this toolkit to really help you collaborate and improve outcomes and opportunity for young children and their families. And then I get to this partnership. We did it right. We went in a couple of places and listened to families, listened to libraries, excuse me. I was trying to push through it, but that wasn't going to work. Listened in music, listened to libraries, listened to families in Mississippi and in Maryland. You see the broad partnership of public broadcasting and libraries, the Rotary Club, the public libraries throughout the state. In Maryland, public television, the Department of Education, and the Judy Centers, which focus on families. And we listened and learned what would help us support families with their own goals and aspirations of having their children have computational skills. And what would it take for those infrastructures to really support the project? And with that learning, we were able to offer that back to public television and media, and Work It Out Wombats was born. And so I'm going to turn this over to Mary. She's going to share with you a lot about Work It Out Wombats, and then end with lots of other resources that you can lean into and depend on. And know as you're listening that we're not asking you to do it by yourself. There is an evaluation at the end. You're welcome to talk back to us and tell us you want our support in making those partnerships and relationships. So lean in, get a great idea, and we're happy to help you bridge the relationships and the structures. Mary?
Excellent. Thanks so much, Sherri. So, Work It Out Wombats is a PBS Kids animated series that follows the adventures of a family of wombats. They're marsupials. Every day, the wombats, along with their friends and neighbors, solve problems, both large and small, using computational thinking skills, or what we call CT for short. So, what is CT? Well, it's a creative way of thinking that helps children solve problems in more organized ways using a toolbox of skills from computer science. Work It Out Wombats is a multifaceted initiative with animated episodes. There's a website with games and downloadable activities. There's a very fun podcast series and community engagement initiatives like the one we're going to be talking about today, which is called Work It Out at Your Library with the Wombats. Work It Out at Your Library with the Wombats is funded by a grant from the National Science Foundation. And with this, we really wanted to lean in and create a motivating learning pathway for families around CT. And it's great for all families, but we particularly wanted to involve families from rural communities who are often left out of the development of initiatives like this. We aim to create a new library model that leverages both librarians' enthusiasm and their skills in supporting family learning. And we were really interested in generating and sharing research to help inform the field. And the study findings on this library initiative will be available to the public a little later this year. So our approach is very similar to what Sherri talked about, listening. So our approach is really to develop with and not just for audiences. So right at the very beginning, we established a library working group who served as co-developers for this initiative. So we took all of the listening tours and the meetings and the research that we did in collaboration with Sherri and the Build, Mississippi, and Maryland, and plowed all of that into our next phase, which really started with a library-focused planning committee, so called the Library Working Group. So we worked with PLA, the Public Library Association. It's a membership association of American Library Association. We worked with Libraries Ready to Code, which is an initiative of the American Library Association focused on computational thinking and coding. Because we wanted to make sure to include rural communities in our development process, we partnered with the Association of Rural and Small Libraries. We worked with Web Junction, Mississippi Public Broadcasting, and just as important as all these other associations, practicing librarians and library workers. This group met throughout the pandemic to iteratively develop this initiative. So now we are public media, so why don't we take a look at a video that we produce, which will provide an in-depth overview of the program.
I'm Christina. I'm an early childhood educator and a big fan of the PBS Kids series, Work It Out Wombats. I'm thrilled to introduce you to Work It Out at Your Library, a new, free library program that helps preschool families explore computational thinking using an app with animated Wombats videos and hands-on CT activities inspired by the TV show. Millions of kids watch Work It Out Wombats every week, making it a great way to attract families to the program. Work It Out Wombats follows the adventures of 3 playful siblings, Zeke, Zadie, and Malik. They live with their grandmother, Super, in the Treeborhood, a fantastical treehouse apartment complex that's home to a diverse community of animal neighbors. Every day, the Wombats and their friends use computational thinking to solve problems. Computational thinking, or CT for short, is a creative way of thinking that helps children solve problems in more organized ways, using a toolbox of skills from computer science. It prepares children for success in school and in life right from the start. The Work It Out at Your Library program brings the fun of CT learning to families at your library and includes 4 3-week units. Here's how each unit of the program works. Week 1. You'll hold a welcome session for families to learn about CT. You'll download the app, and then you'll try out the first hands-on activity together. Next, families continue the fun and learning at home by watching Wombats animated videos and doing hands-on activities guided by the app. Week 2. Families will come back to the library for a CT Storytime session and to get answers to their questions. Week 3. Families will again return to the library to do a final hands-on activity together and share and celebrate what they learned at home.
You did it!
All 4 units of Work It Out at your library follow this model. Feel free to adapt the length of the program to fit your programming needs. Work It Out at your library includes all the resources you'll need to lead families through each session. Guides for library workers and families, printable activities, slide decks, and materials to set up a CT corner. There are also videos for parents to learn more about the program and computational thinking. You can find the Work It Out at your library program at pbslearningmedia.org. The free Work It Out Wombats family app is available for Apple and Android phones and is designed so that it can be used with limited internet access and a wide range of phones. Use Work It Out at your library to help children and families solve problems with CT. I'm Christine.
So now we have a poll that we're going to launch. How much did you know about computational thinking before this webinar? On a scale of 1 to 10, 1 nothing, 10 a lot. And does investing in computational skills support future career choices for children and youth? Yes, no, or unsure. And do you have a relationship with your local or state library? Yes or no? So let's see, now that you've gotten a little bit of an introduction, what our friends are thinking. How are we doing, Jonathan?
We're at 68% right now.
Okay. And don't overthink it. We don't really know who you are. We just want to get a sense of the audience. And we've given you a little bit. And yes, Jonathan reminds you in the chat, please type any questions that you have in the Q&A feature. If you can't see that, use the chat and we'll try to move them over. Okay, Jonathan, what do we know? All right. So how much did you know about computational thinking? People are mostly between 1 and 5 and a little bit on the other end. Thanks for sharing that. And we encourage you to continue to listen and learn more. We agree for the most part that computational skills supports future career choices. And certainly it does. It leans into math, thinking kinds of skills. And we're about 50-50 on having a relationship with our state or local librarian. And again, we're happy to help and support you with that. So thanks for participating with us. Mary?
Great. So all of the multimedia resources for this library initiative are available free of charge in a collection on PBS LearningMedia. For those of you who may not be familiar with PBS LearningMedia, it's a free digital library with literally thousands of multimedia resources for teaching and learning pre-K through grade 12, and features videos, lesson plans, interactives, activities, and so much more. Following this webinar, we're going to send out a document with links to all of the sites that we've referenced. So I hope that you do take a few moments and visit PBS LearningMedia. So as you heard in the overview video, this program is composed of 4 3-week units, each one focusing in on a different CT skill. But the program is flexible, so you could do 1 unit, you could do 3 units, you could do 4 units, and you could do them in whatever order you like. There's also a free app that families are introduced to during the first session of the library program. And once the app is downloaded, it will work anywhere. It doesn't require using data plans or internet. As long as you have access in the library, you can download and then use the app without burning through your data plans. And the app can be used in 2 ways. It can be used as part of the library program, but it could also be used as a standalone without the library program. So now let's take a look at the collection on PBS LearningMedia. So what we wanted to do with the collection is to kind of make it one-stop shopping for librarians. So there's background on CT, because not everyone, if you asked me 5 years ago, what is CT? I probably would have said it has something to do with computing or computers, which is only partially right. So we know that a lot of folks may be not as familiar with the term CT. So in this collection, we give you a whole lot of information on that. There are a variety of resources and strategies that librarians can use to help build CT skills in young children, which is super important. So the first
we do have a question, like what age group, when you say young children, what age group is this particular series meant for?
Yeah, that's a great question. It was originally developed for preschool and say kindergarten, and you know, kids, they're on an age spectrum and also on a skill spectrum, but that's basically the age group. Now, a 3-year-old could certainly watch and have fun watching the animated episodes. Maybe some of the activities might be better suited for a 4-year-old, but within that kind of 3 to 5 range is our target audience. Yeah. So the first unit is what we call Create, Test, and Improve, and this focuses on the CT skill called the design process. So every unit, all 4 units, have a comprehensive facilitator's guide that includes leader notes, suggested scripts, slide decks, you name it, we have it. Next slide. So the next unit is called Step It Out, and the Step It Out unit focuses on the skill of sequencing. So Step It Out and the other 3 units are all media rich. They feature a variety of videos, including informational videos that explain CT skills, but they do so in really easy to understand language. There are also a number of music videos, and yes, there's a ton of dancing in this program, so if you want to do this program, get ready. And there are also animated stories that families can watch together before they try their hand at the same activity that the Wombats model in the videos. Just like with the app, all the videos can be downloaded and used without the need to have ongoing internet access. So this makes it really easy if you're in an urban, suburban, or rural community to use these resources. Next slide. So the third unit is called Find What Matters, and this focuses on the skill of abstraction and representation. In addition to the guides and the videos, each unit also features a variety of other resources, including recommended book lists. Now, you may be wondering how many children's storybooks are out there that focus on CT. Interestingly, there are a lot, and we found them. And we did so, of course, with the help of librarians and the Horn Book. So we have some terrific annotated book lists with related activities for libraries if they do story times or even preschool classrooms. Next slide. And the fourth unit is called Break It Down. And this unit focused on the CT skill of problem decomposition. So taking a big problem, breaking it down into smaller, more manageable chunks. So again, each unit includes a Work It Out at Home family guide. These guides have more information or families on that particular skill. So Break It Down will have more specific information for families on problem decomposition. There's additional information in these family guides about using the app and doing the activities. The guides also have a very fun activity tracker that you can pop onto a fridge, and it helps kids and families track their progress as they go through all of the CT activities they do. And then finally, for each unit, there are certificates of achievement to help celebrate families' accomplishments.
Another question for you. One of the things that we cared about, and I cared about as commissioner, is, does this align with our early learning standards? Because we're trying to support a community-based initiative to support families to have what they need in order to support their children to learn and grow. So this question's just one question. As you heard Mary talk about the opportunity, talk about the skills, do you see alignment with what you want your children to know and be able to do at those preschool ages? So we'll give you a minute to do that. See how we're doing. Seems like, Mary, we should have some wombat music to dance while we
I
wait.
know.
How are we doing, Jonathan?
We're at 67% right now.
Okay, give it a couple seconds and let's see what folks said. Okay. How do we do? All right. So most folks are seeing the alignment with the early learning standards, some not. Mary and I have lots of other information and can help talk to you about that. Look at your early learning standards, but we know that's critical as you think about what we're trying to support children to learn and be able to do. So about 82% are seeing some alignment, 18% either not sure or no. And so we're happy to talk more about that as well. Mary?
Yeah, so in addition to the units that we worked super hard to get the navigation as clean and clear as possible, if you go to this collection, and I certainly hope you do, there is a special section that provides an overview for families. And if you go to this section there, you'll find additional videos for families, including a short video that shows the Wombats Family app in action. So why don't we take a look at that short video?
Get ready to work it out. The Work It Out Wombats Family app brings the Wombats problem-solving fun right to your home. Join Zeke, Zadie, and Malik, 3 marsupial siblings from the hit PBS Kids series Work It Out Wombats, as they solve problems using computational thinking, a creative way of thinking that helps children solve problems in more organized ways. You and your child can watch animated Wombats videos, then do hands-on activities with step-by-step instructions you'll find in the app. Each activity needs only a few easy-to-find materials. Super, the Wombat's grandmother, will give you tips on how to support your child as they use their computational thinking skills. Take photos in the app and use them to create a music video starring your child. Then, watch the music video to help your child review what they learned. Download the free Work It Out Wombats Family app. It's available on the App Store and on Google Play.
Yeah, the video making feature of the app is really fun for kids as well as adults. So in addition to all the online resources, we also created some physical resources, including what we call a CT Corner toolkit. And the toolkit features a tabletop Treeberhood standee, and the annotated book lists, activity and coloring sheets. And these are great for libraries. So a library can set up a CT Corner, talk to families about what CT is, share some fun activities, recommend some books, but it's just as good for a classroom. So as Sherri and I mentioned, we have, I think, between 50 and 75 of these CT Corner toolkits for attendees today. And if you're a librarian, this is perfect for you. If you work in a preschool, family childcare center, also perfect for you. So they're quite fun. So
Remind them that at the end, we're going to ask them for their reflections. And so in order to be eligible for the toolkit, you'll need to fill out the evaluation. But looking forward to sharing.
okay, so for those of you who may be new to public media's educational resources, I wanted to share a few additional ones with you very quickly. And the first one I want to share is called Resources for Early Learning. In some ways, it is kind of similar to PBS LearningMedia. It's a digital library. The difference is this digital library, Resources for Early Learning, is exclusively for early childhood, for educators, parents, and kids. And this actually was spearheaded by Sherri when she was commissioner of the Massachusetts Department of Early Education and Care. Thank you, Sherri, and funded by a Race to the Top Early Learning Challenge grant. And we worked with local early childhood educators from center-based and family childcare centers to develop this robust digital library with over 2,500 multimedia resources for teaching and learning. And in addition to all of the great media, there's a 9-unit, 30-week ELA STEM preschool curriculum. There's a 7-unit infant toddler curriculum, 17 video-centered training modules for educators of infants and toddlers, and then educators of preschoolers. They both explore essential best practices. And there are two ways that you can use these resources. You could do it on demand, self-paced, if you're an individual educator. We also created these really comprehensive training guides. So if your program has a training director who does trainings for groups, we have a really terrific, very comprehensive guide. And then we also have parent strategy videos, again, for infants and toddlers on a variety of topics, and then for parents of preschoolers. Next slide. So GBH has also developed a number of research and development initiatives that explore how digital tools can promote learning in young children. So we haven't really talked about media and concerns about media with young children. So I just want to make a couple statements. The media that we produce, I mean, first and foremost, has to be engaging storytelling. But all of our PBS Kids initiatives have an underlying curriculum. The one that we were talking about earlier in this webinar, Work It Out Wombats, is computational thinking. We adhere to NAEYC's developmentally appropriate practices for the use of media with young children. We're also in line with the American Academy of Pediatrics. It's always a blended experience, media consumption as a springboard to some other type of engagement. Sometimes it's the hands-on in real life engagement that then is capped off to help reflection with media. So we know that there are a lot of concerns about screen time and young kids. I want to assure you that the way that that we recommend our media be used is developmentally appropriate, very measured, it's limited, and in the best sense, it's a springboard to some other type of engagement. So one of the initiatives that explored how digital tools can promote learning in young children is this umbrella initiative called First 8 Labs. Obviously, First 8, we're looking at the first 8 years of life, and we do not recommend media for children under 3, but we do for the people who care for them. But the one I wanted to call out is called Gracie and Friends, and this focuses on math skills. This is a NSF-funded R&D initiative that explored apps in particular and how apps can help children learn critical math skills like equipartitioning or fair sharing and subitizing. These apps are available free of charge in the App Store. They're only available right now for tablets, but they really are terrific. Some of the apps are available also in Spanish. Many of them have levels, so as kids progress, the engagement gets more challenging. And in addition to the apps, and between Gracie and Friends, which is all about preschool math, and Nico and Nor, which is all about preschool science, I think there are over 22 learning apps, again, all free of charge, and they're really great. We've also produced teachers' guides and parent and family resources. So I wanted to now just share a testimonial from one of the teachers that used Gracie and Friends in her classroom, and she is from Lawrence, Massachusetts. I'll show that video.
Early math with Gracie and Friends.
You're getting so much. You're getting the partitioning, social, sharing, even literacy. You're getting everything from these games. It's amazing. I tell my parents, I'm really huge with emails and talking to my parents and letting them know what we're doing. Do it at home. Do it with dessert in the morning. Do it with your snack. You know, let them know this is equipartitioning. And I tell them, use these words because I use these words. I was a little afraid at first. I was like, whoa, this is like math, my number one fear. And I sat there and I'm looking at all the applications and saying, oh my God, like it's helped me even get certain concepts that I didn't understand. As crazy as that sounds, I'm like, okay, I get it. Like I get this. I can teach this. Like I can really teach this. This is amazing. A girl that struggled through high school with math, like is actually teaching math. And the kids are actually understanding what I'm saying. It's an amazing program. I'm so lucky to be part of this. I'm just so happy. This has been amazing. It has helped me be a better teacher.
Okay, so there are hundreds of public broadcasters across the country. Most of them conduct educational outreach and engagement in their local communities. So if you're not already working with your local public broadcaster, we really encourage you to find your local public broadcaster. You can go to the American Public Television Station's URL. Again, we'll include the URL in that document that we're going to send you afterwards. Or you're more than welcome to contact me. I know a lot of the folks who are doing amazing work across the country in their local communities. I would be happy to connect you. And I think now we can take some questions.
We have one more poll, but we'll also take questions. There's nothing in the Q&A and nothing in the chat. So if you've got a question, pop it in and Mary and I will try our best to answer, but also want to get your sense on these questions. If you like more information, would you like to have it show up in your state or your library? Would you want a public media webinar on resources for early learning? And then would you like to create a partnership with your local or state library? And Trish is saying that she has partnered with her local central PBS educators in programming, and it's been overwhelmingly positive. So thank you so much for sharing that, Trish, that, you know, we're not just a special relationship. You can have one too. You can build one with your own resources. Thank you, Trish. But either through the chat or the Q&A, if you've got questions, we're happy to answer those. Cassandra says she's a huge fan of Work It Out Wombats. Her entire family watches it, Mary. How about that?
Yay.
How about that? How about that? So there's another parent testimony that it works. Really want to thank you all for showing up this afternoon. Looks like we'll be able to give you a few minutes back, but as we give you those minutes back, we want you to give us your feedback. So again, Mary says she's got about 75 of the CT Corner toolkits. We need you to, you know, hit this evaluation code and fill out the evaluation. We'll be using that and those addresses that we can collect there to distribute that. So really want your support with that as well. But really appreciate everybody showing up. And you can take the few minutes that we're giving you back and fill out the evaluation. And then we look forward to talking to each of you who want support or need support. There is a question. I'm wondering if there's something missing, if there's something similar on social emotional learning, Mary.
Well, yeah, it's a great question. We build in social emotional learning opportunities to, I think, every PBS Kids initiative. So you'll see it in Wombats, for example, when the siblings in particular have, you know, a pretty normal, traditional sibling relationships. They get frustrated or they get sad or frightened, and we model how to help kids work through those. And I would say that that's definitely true for most, if not all, PBS Kids initiatives. You know, we do a lot with character virtues, for example, honesty and forgiveness and empathy, etc.
Thank you. And then the toolkit that I referenced earlier, when we send out the follow-up email, we'll put a link to that toolkit in it. So you'll be able to get that, Alicia. And yes, you'll get another way to do the evaluation. At the end of the call, Jonathan will email everybody with the link for the evaluation. Also, as we close out the webinar, you're going to get a pop-up and you can hit that link. So you can hit the pop-up link with your on your phone. That might be easiest. And then we'll also send out the link after the webinar. Can you? Yeah, so we'll get you to link a couple other ways. No, we hadn't planned on doing a certificate with this. Happy you were able to be here. If you need a letter or something saying that you participated, we're happy to do that, but we don't actually do CEUs. This was more informational to try to get folks engaged, but thanks for the question. Well, with that, Mary, thank you so much for your partnership. I mean, a number of years,
my thanks to you.
over 10 years of really trying to work and do things together on behalf of young children and families. We started in Massachusetts and then made some things pop up across the country. So really appreciate that and your leadership over time.
Oh, right back at you.
I will contribute.
Thank
So,
you.
and then thank all of you, because
Yeah.
you are the people who will get this message to educators. You're the people who get this message to your local libraries, your children and families. And it takes all of this in order for all of us to be well and be successful. So thank you so much for the opportunity to spend a little bit of time with you this afternoon. So thank you.
Thanks so much.